Hello, Jackson. This is our review for Magician's Guild, Book 1 in Trudi Canavan's The Black Magician, and it was an interesting read. This is my third review of this book. The other two were lost while I was trying a different format, I guess, and it didn't pan out. There may not be a lot of enthusiasm. This book was published back in 2001, and I remember having a friend who was awed by this trilogy. So at some point I stumbled upon the first book. It's a translated version, of course, so don't expect me to talk about the writing. And it was very well priced, so I got it to read it, and then I looked at the synopsis and I was like, is this YA? I don't do YA. However, at some point I was like, yeah, I should probably read it and maybe unhaul it because it's taking up space in my bookshelves. So I picked this up, started reading, and I was pleasantly surprised because this book came out in 2001. Trudi Canavan is an Australian author. She lives in Melbourne, Australia, and she has this trilogy and another one, I guess, I'm not quite sure. I've been stumbling upon her other trilogy for some time now, and it was published back in an era where magic schools were all the rage because of hypermania, but the YA genre was not exactly codified into what it is today. I think this came later with works like Twilight, The Hunger Games, and The Mortal Instruments. So it's in this era where it's not exactly YA, and it reads like not YA. So I think it's a great book for people who both read YA and adult fantasy because it's a little bit of both. So what's the story? We're in this city, Martin, where there are a lot of slums, and every year during winter the Magician's Guild is going on the streets and it's destroying the hovels of the poor people and driving them away, and it's some sort of a tradition. So this year this happens, and we have our protagonist, Sonia, who is in the protesters who are against the magicians, I guess, and she feels very bad about it. So she grabs a rock, like everybody around her. They're throwing rocks at the magicians, but they do nothing because of their shields, and she puts her anger into the stone, throws it, and it goes through a shield and hits one of the magicians in the head. So everybody's shocked because there's a rogue magician who got her power and she's out there. And the problem is that if she cannot control her powers, if she's not trained, then her powers will go out of control. Sonia, of course, is helped by her friend Kirin, who is also in love with her, but I'm not sure she feels that way exactly. And she is taken in by the Thieves Guild of the slums, and meanwhile the magicians, the Guild of the Magicians, are out to find her. And as Sonia is training in her magic, her powers start to go out of control. So finally the thieves give her to the magicians and she is to be accepted into the guild. That's pretty much the story of the first book. So we have this chosen one, very powerful young protagonist who is also female. There is a best friend who is in love with her. There are hints of another love interest, but there is nothing explicitly love triangle in this book. I've got the impression that there will be a love triangle in book 2 and book 3, which I don't have and haven't read yet. If I stumble upon them, I'm definitely getting them because I like this book, and I'll tell you why. It's certainly proto-YA tropes. However, what I really liked about this book is that it takes a lot from adult fantasy of that era. And this is because the world building is simple, but is well thought out. We have this city in Martin, and 50 years or so ago, there was a huge volcanic explosion. That means that the sky went dark, so their agriculture was affected. So a lot of farmers went to the big city, and the king was not able to feed them all, so he had to drive them away. And this is why this purge continues every year, to drive away excess mouths because they cannot feed them. The magicians, of course, they're noble, but they're cross purposes. Some people believe that this poor rat, Sonia, should not be accepted into the guild. Others believe that we should train her because she's a magician like us, so there's this struggle. Sonia is very affected by how aloof and hostile magicians feel to the common folk, That's why she doesn't want to be a member of the Magicians Guild. She believes she will be punished, and she doesn't want to, of course. So that's why she is evading them and doesn't want to join them. And basically, every character in this book is driven by their own beliefs, by their own agenda, by their own injustices, by their own character. The plot is very character driven, and everything in this book is that. It relies a lot on world building. The class structure is very important in this book, something I've really missed. I mean, it feels like it's a book from another era because the concept of class is explored, which is very alien in today's fantasy literature, I guess. And they're driven by their beliefs, so nobody's exactly evil, I guess. And a lot of the struggles in this book are being resolved by the end of it. Of course, there is a thread about the Black Magician, because Sonia has witnessed something she shouldn't have, so that will probably inform the other two books. And the Black Magician he feels a lot like a proto-darkling from Shadow and Bone, but yeah, he's not as involved yet. He's the headmaster of the Magicians Guild, and he's clearly into something dark. That is mostly left unexplored for the next two books. So yeah, that's a great book for YA fantasy readers to start going into more adult fantasy. It's a great option for adult fantasy readers who want to read something lighter and faster, I guess, because it is not that big and expansive, so it's very manageable. And yeah, it's probably a short book, around 400 pages. So yeah, that's the Magician's Guild. Sorry. If you've read this book or the rest of the trilogy, I'd love to hear your opinions. I mean, if you've read this trilogy and it was great for you, you thought it was great, then tell me so, because I have to track down the books and read the rest of it. But as for now, I'm good. I enjoyed this book, and if I stumble upon the next two books, which have not been translated yet over here, the publisher of this book went out of business, so yeah, it's kind of hard to get the other two books. So yeah, if you believe I should read it, tell me so I can track them down. And thank you for watching. Have fun.